and red now.
So now it's red and it's saying it's gone
Red.
overtime. It's at
Yes,
103%.
102%. Yes. Okay. So this is how you can see the SLA gets attached. It start the count. Since we have kept it 24/7, at any time you start and counter will start, unless you have some pause condition given. So if you give some pause condition and if you change the status of that incident to that state, which is considered as a pause, then the clock will stop. So you can, if you want, I can give some time. You can explore a little bit on this. Do you want to explore
Sure.
something?
Yeah, I can do that.
Yeah, please do it. You can add some pause conditions in that SLA. The first one I think you created, right? Add some
Yeah,
pause
this is it right
condition.
here.
Yeah, add some pause condition. Choose the field state. Choose the field state. Okay, is on
We do
hold,
on
correct?
hold. Yeah.
Right. You have to also give the resume condition. If you are giving the pause condition, also giving, you should also give the pause condition. Pause condition, yeah, it is in progress again. Fine. Update.
Okay.
Update this now. Click the update button. Now you have to create another incident with the critical priority. After 2 minutes, we'll pause it. Waits for 1 more minute, then we'll resume it and then see if it is working. Create new incident now. Incident create new. Yes. Last name आप नहीं करना. mandatory field is missing, work note.
That started.
Which one is your? Yeah,
Request fulfillment.
second one is
Yep.
started. Okay, let's 2 minutes get elapsed, then we'll change the pause condition.
Yep.
It is not progressing, I think, or is
Yeah,
it?
it's not doing it in real time, but when you hit save, it refreshes it and then it
Mhm.
shows progress. So it's weird. It doesn't
Oh,
count
yes,
down
correct.
on the screen.
Yes, correct. Okay, now you can change the status to mm, on hold. Save it. Yeah. Now
Paused.
this
Yep.
paused. Okay, now the
Okay.
progress will not be there. Just wait for a couple of minutes and then change it back to in progress. Now change it to in progress again. Because you see there is no clock processing further. Change it to in progress now. Okay, save it. Now the progress will start again.
Yep. It went up. So it's resumed.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, can stop presenting now. All right. So this is how we reach to the end of module 4, right? And today we'll be covering module 5 and module 6. But before that, we'd like to recap what we did yesterday in module 3 and module 4. Okay. Okay, in module 3, CMDB and reporting, correct?
Yeah, we talked about that.
Yeah. So ServiceNow database, the analogy between the forms and backend table, the field and the column or a row in as a record in the database table. So that will column table in the database. Then we discuss the reference field. So reference field is the field which will take the data from some other form or from other table. So it is not the free text. Whatever you type here, the record must exist in the reference table. Then only you'll be able to add that. Okay. Then we talked about the table administration. There are four modules here: the table module, the table and column module, schema module, and system dictionary module. So in table module, you list off all the tables in the database. Table and column module, you can go and see all the tables, their columns, their attributes, their types of data which stored. Schema map is the graphical representation of the table relationship. Okay, and system dictionary is basically give you all the information about the table, field, and everything here. Then we talked about some core table. So user data is stored in the sys underscore user table in the backend. Group data is stored in the sys underscore user underscore group table in the backend. Knowledge articles are stored in the kv underscore knowledge table in the backend. There is one task table, which is the parent of all this thing: incident, problem, change, request, requested item. These are all the tables which are extended from task table. So task table is a parents of all these incident, problem, change, request, and requested item records. So this is, you can say, it is one of the core table in the ServiceNow. Now we discuss about what is the relationship between the base table or base class, parent class, and child class, and how they are related to each other. So it is a kind of inheritance properties there. So you can create a field in the parent class or in the child class. The field which are local to that class are stored in that table, and it automatically get the fields which are stored in the parent class by inheritance. So when you create one record in the child class, it may create a multiple record in a multiple table, right? So if you create one record in the child class, it will create one record here in the child class, one record in the parent class, and one record in the base class. So this we discussed yesterday. Then we talked about the CMDB table. So two CMDB table, base configuration and core configuration, which store the information about the attributes of the CI. Whereas CI relationship table is store the relationship between the CI. And we discuss what is, how the relationship are important to store, right? So if you keep the relationship data properly in the system, that will help you to do the impact analysis. It means that if your application is depend on some server, you can create the relationship between the server class and application class. So whenever the server goes down, the application will also goes down. So that will help you to create a impact analysis report. So in the core CMDB, you can have the graphical representation. So, and you can also have a what if analysis. So do you know what is what if analysis?
Uh, in general, just kind of going over all the different scenarios that could happen.
Yeah. So as I said yesterday, your application is depend on some server, right? And you have created the relationship between the server and the application. So in ServiceNow CMDB, if you open that schema map, and if you right click on the server icon and say down or change the status to down, means you are not actually changing the status to down. You are just saying if this server goes down, what all other things will get impacted. So graphically, the CMDB system can tell you which are the applications, which are the database will goes down if this server is goes down because of any reason. So that is called as impact simulator. So you can actually see by doing the what if analysis, and if you just say, okay, if this server goes down, what will happen? So when it is important, this is important when you are planning to have some kind of change request on a server, right? For example, if you decided to upgrade the server and you want to know, like if I make this server down, what are the impact on my environment? So you can go to the impact simulator and you say, what if this server goes down? Graphically, it will tell you which server, which applications, which database will goes down because of this. And then you can inform these people, okay, that this system will not be available between this and this time because of the scheduled maintenance of a server. So in impact simulator, you can actually see everything graphically, how it is impacting the each others. Okay. Then type table relationship. We have different types of relationship: one to many, many to many, extension, database view, right? So like one to many means one request can have multiple requested item. Now you know what is the big difference between request and requested items, right? Yesterday we talked about that with one example. Then many to many. So one vendor can supply many product and many product can be supplied by one product. So many to many relationship. Extension, the parent child relationship, and the database views. So CMDB CI has the uptime matrix. So reporting purpose. Okay. This diagram we already discussed a couple of times. So this will tell you what is the parent child relationship between the different classes in CMDB. And then we create the new table. Then we talked about how to create the form by using that table, right? So form layout, you can define like what type of form you can create. So not once you create the table here, and if you go to the form layout, you can also add the fields there. Yesterday we talked about this, how to add these fields. Then you can go to the form layout, you can define what field you want, what field you don't want. You can remove it, you can decide whether I want one column or two column layout, and then I can create the actual prototype form, correct? And then you can create the record in this form. You can also create the module here, whether you want the where this particular table should be visible in the application navigator. So here you can define that, correct? We discussed all these things yesterday. Then lesson 2, we talks about the import set. Import set means you are importing the data from the external data source into the staging, into the CMDB table. So we are not directly reading the data from the external source and putting it into the target table. First, we are getting that data into the import import set table, which is like a staging table. Then we create a transformation map where you are actually mapping the fields from import set table to the target table, and then we run that transform. So when you run the transformation map, it will create the record in the target table, right? We also discuss how the uniqueness will be handled, means coalx field. Okay, so coalx field, if you define the coalx field, the system will check the value of the coalx field in the target table. If the record exists, it will update the existing record. If there is no record exist with that value in the coalx field, it will create the new record. Okay, that is what coalx field. In coalx field, you can define no coalx. If you do not, if you are doing the data load for the first time, you can load the data without specifying the coalx. So no coalx condition is there. Sometimes you have the single field which will define the uniqueness as a primary key. So maybe account number, employee ID, right? Registration ID for the student, they are single field coalx. Sometimes the single field is not available to identify the record uniquely. Then you can create a multiple field coalx, okay, right? So that is also possible. And conditional coalx is bit complex thing. Like the coalx field is defined based on certain conditions. And then we import some data into the user table by using the Excel sheet data, which is there in the sys_user file. And the steps we followed are like this. Then we discuss about CMDB concepts. What is CMDB? So CMDB is the configuration management database, which is stored the attributes of a CI. okay, which store the attribute of the CI. Along with that, it will also store the relationship between the CI, okay, and that relationship will help you to understand the impact analysis. Okay, we discussed that, and then we discuss how to, when you configure the, or when you design the CMDB, what implementation question you should ask yourself. First is how the data is entered or imported and managed, because CMDB is not a one-time activity, it is a regular activity. You first you decide what item should be put into CMDB. So which item we should put into CMDB? Yesterday I told you. What is that? Do you remember? Which are the items we should put it into CMDB?
In terms of the database, it would be like old records, but well, it should be data that your company is using. That was like the guideline for
Yeah, that is
what
the
we put in.
attributes. That are the attributes. Which attributes I should maintain in the CMDB? That is the attributes which is used by some applications or somebody in the organization. But which CI should be there in the CMDB? Any infrastructure item, which I use to deliver the service to my customer should be part of your CMDB, right? Remember? So
Yeah, that
that is
makes
the first
sense.
part. That is the first part. Like which CI should be there into CMDB. Then once you decide that, where it should store, where the data is stored, means are you creating the new class for them? You are extending the class accordingly. And what in attributes, what data is necessary, means which attribute need to be stored. Do you want to store all the attributes, or you want to store only those attribute which is used by somebody? Because once you start keeping the attribute into CMDB, there is an overhead of maintaining the value into that. Okay, you have to create you have to put the up-to-date value all the time. So if there are no consumer for your attributes, then there is no point in keeping that data into the system. Okay, so you should decide that at the time of considering the CI. Now there are various ways you can populate the CMDB. There is, as I said, there are some discovery tool. Do you know what is discovery tools?
Uh, yeah, there's tons of them all over ServiceNow. I think we've been using them.
Yeah, basically service discovery tool runs on the network, and they find out what are the CIs item are there on the network, and they populate the CMDB with that. Okay, so that is one way. Then import set, if you have that data in the Excel sheet or XML file or anything, you can use that file to import the data. That is import set. Integrate with external CMDB, means you have some data source, you can integrate them with the CMDB by using web services or anything. Okay, manual input is also possible. You open the form of CMDBs and then enter the data here. That is also possible. Okay, so there are various way to populate the data in CMDB. And then there is a reconciliation job, because once you populate the data in CMDB, and after 1 month you want to check whether all the data which I put in CMDB is still up to date, then you can run the discovery tool. They will again discover the data in the network, and they will compare your CMDB data with the newly discovered data. And wherever there is a discrepancy, it will update the CMDB with the new field or new value in the fields. Okay, so that is called as reconciliation process. But we are not getting into that right now, because that is not part of our discussion. But there are automated reconciliation job which will compare the newly discovered data with the existing data in CMDB. If both the data records are matching, it will discard that, go to the next record. When there is a discrepancy between the CMDB record and the newly discovered data, it will update the CMDB record with the new information. Okay, and we talked about that. We create some CI class. We create the relationship between the CI class. Then we discuss the reporting part. Okay, did you get a chance to explore the reporting little bit more?
Yeah, I was looking at all the different charts that you can use,
Hmm.
different kind of reports you can generate.
Right. So there is a home page where you can put the uh, records on the dashboard. You can create the new report by going to report, view and run, or you can edit the existing report by under report. There is a option called view and run. Then you can see various report. You can run the report. When you save the report, you have various options here: update, import, publish. We talked about all these options yesterday, right? What is mean by update, what is by insert, sharing, schedule, all that stuff. So this report visibility. So when you create the report, you can also define whether the report should be visible only to me, to my group, or to everyone, right? You can define that. You can create various types of report: pie chart, bar chart. You can also export the report as a CSV file, PDF file, XML file, depending on non whether it is a chart or non-chart report. Then what is the difference between publish and sharing? So sharing, to make the report visible to the particular group of user, whereas publish is for everyone, right? And then we did some report and put it on the dashboard, right? We go to the dashboard and say, I want to put this report on the dashboard. I can define where I want to push it. So this is the layout of the dashboard. So you can, at a time, you can have 1, 2, 3, 4 report here, but there are various layout also. You can see that, and you can add the report here. So this is what we discuss in the module 3. Okay. Now, next we discussed yesterday is module 4. In the module 4, we talked about the knowledge management, service catalog, workflow, and SLA. So Nick, I think I discussed this with Steve about this development work workflow. So he also confirmed that we are not going to develop anything in the service now. So I think we should be good with to move forward without workflow. Okay.
All right, sounds good.
Yeah. So this knowledge management. So we talked about what is knowledge management, how to access the knowledge management. You can access it from self-service knowledge, or you can also access it through the service portal knowledge base section. I show you both the option, right? Knowledge articles are divided into various categories. Okay, and these are the categories. You can see which articles comes under which categories. You can also create the new article if you want. On the from right hand side, there is a button. You can click the new article. Okay, here is, you can also flag the article if you want to make some note or something. You can flag the article. You can see all the flag article on the my flag sections in the application navigator. There are some out of box knowledge workflows are there. So 4 knowledge based workflow are there out of box, which is provided. You can also create your own workflow if you want. So do you want your knowledge base should get approval before it publish, or do you want the knowledge article should get published without approval? Depending on that, you can decide whether the workflow will be knowledge approval publish or knowledge instant publish. Same thing is applicable for retiring the knowledge base. Do you want any approval for retiring the knowledge base, or do you want any do you don't want any approval for retiring the particle? Okay, give me a minute. So you can decide which of workflow we are enabling for approval and retirement of a knowledge base. Then there are some sub flow, okay, which are also available to you in order to create your own workflow. Okay, so when you create your own workflow, you can use this building block, which are ready to use. Okay, so for publish knowledge and retire knowledge both. So when you creating the knowledge article, you can define like which workflow will be used for which categories. So if you go to the